I guarantee you don't.
No, it's the second district.
What's happening? We're in suspense.
Was Rutherford Road.
Actual show. We just finished.
You say it's in the second district?
No. It's an added district. So it's up to
Yeah.
It said situated in the second legislative district.
Jefferson Road?
No.
Hello.
Hi,
How you doing, Harold?
all right, how about you?
First budget meeting was rough.
Huh?
Where do you
First
see
budget
that?
meeting was
Very
rough.
last page.
It was, that mean that it's gonna be rough here?
It shouldn't be. I think we got it all ironed out. What the, oh man. Anybody wish to address the commission
You
tonight,
ever get a chance?
sign in at the podium. As Soon as I get everybody back from the budget meeting over at the county office, we'll open it up and get started.
No, I just happened to be over there, but no.
Which I like.
You know about them.
I know you
I used to go to church.
So do I.
Yes,
You doing well?
I'm tired.
Absolutely not.
It's on. Yeah, it's on.
Lord have mercy.
They put on a great.
They need it.
How are you? I done told Chase I wasn't gonna ever wanna make it. Sent one home sick. Had trouble covering him.
Well, she will enjoy you being here.
Well, no 18.
Worked it right.
Worked around it.
Means a lot.
Nothing. Nothing. I don't know what.
For those waiting, Buddy's dealing with a family emergency tonight, so he won't be
Okay.
here.
This effort.
And the speakers are on, the camera's live.
Yes.
And we're live now.
Give it to the other guy.
Well, the red light's not on.
That's right. That means it's on.
It's on.
It's just exactly backwards as it should
That's
be.
what you would think it'd be, yeah.
Take care of
That's the way it is. When the red
you get
light's
my
on,
text?
it's off.
Yes.
It shows that it's.
Jim?
printed, so it should be-
There's Jim.
No, you're fine. We're all late.
Georgia.
Okay.
I have a question. Zone R1,
Oh,
the fellow is considering
All right, here.
recreational ball fields.
Allium.
What I think it
we all
is.
may need it.
Facility, public recreation facility in
You
R1.
doing well?
I'm tired.
about driveway permits tonight.
I'm tired.
What's that?
This is our zoning section on driveways.
I've got,
About answer if he did or not.
You all don't have any Virginias, I was gonna pass these out if anybody wanted.
look, all I've got is this section right here, E. Is that what this one
This
is?
is the zoning.
Here's what I've got.
This is the section.
Pulling right up from you.
What have I got right here?
No signal.
Did I see you this morning?
It is.
Yeah.
If you don't care, I'll
Oh, please do.
somebody asked me a question last month, I didn't get to answer.
Tell you what, that 4-star was
Y'all
impressive.
again? I bet they locked it up in there.
It is at the end of the
Trash
county,
can.
going in the
Our
Knox
trash
County,
can.
go out North
It
Shore,
says in
take a
section,
right.
sorry.
Yeah, that's wrong.
I guess if they was still.
I saw that.
I'm down here.
So that's not fair to have one on that end and not one on this end.
Have the same as
Have
they
two
got.
trash cans for that
Like
one.
we still.
No, we'll struggle through.
Okay, the next commission meeting is October 3rd.
Yes.
I can find out if you'll
Okay.
Nobody.
holler at me or something.
We're all here.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
We're all here.
You don't need that when you're down here.
They have to be a C2.
That's on driveway.
Barrel.
Just
Left their buddies not here.
If you need it, it's right.
No, it's
I can
I'll go get the sheet.
get the sheet. and we'll-
He's got his old son having to have it. No, it's a man.
Same man had that removed.
That's a first.
Maybe I'll see if they do.
I'll try to come by tomorrow.
Maybe they have. Kaylee can tell you if I'm not in.
First time.
Everybody stop and buy a lottery ticket. Nobody signed up to.
You don't have to use it.
Oh, see, well, I'm. Yeah, I don't care if it pays them out.
No.
Okay,
You get your color by number sheets here in just a moment.
For later conversation.
Next to dogs.
we're gonna have a little conversation with Mr. Jenkins about where Mr. Jenkins parks.
I pulled all the way up.
He pulled in my parking spot.
Showed up.
You was right, like you pulled up.
I got
That means you need to cut it short in the budget meeting, quit talking so much.
We tried.
That's a fact, that's
We
an
tried.
absolute fact. The longer they talk, the more money they spend.
No, you don't, golly,
I
Bubba.
could let him park
It
down
went off
here and come
rails
pick him
tonight.
up and take him to the budget meeting, so it's save the spot.
How come it took
Got
so long?
seats in the lunchroom
Well,
at school.
Money.
Van wouldn't be quiet.
Yeah, that was it.
Van wouldn't be quiet, Mr. Gunn.
I will have to say,
There
that
you
was
go.
an out of the ordinary budget.
That was an
workshop.
out of the ordinary budget meeting.
Mr. Chairman, at 6:03.
I know. I'm gonna start
Where you
without
found
Tracy.
five?
She can catch up.
She'll be here shortly.
All right. I'm gonna call the Loudon County Commission Workshop for Monday, September 19th, 2022 to order. No one signed up to comment from the public. That's the first. Jim Jenkins, step up. You got a zoning change.
So this is a resolution adopted by Loudon County Commission closing the county's portion of the right-of-way at Wilkerson Road, the portion running through and adjoining tax map 17 parcels 8501 and 86100, located in Loudon County tax map 017 parcels 85.01 and 86.00. There are some resolution amendments we got to make, if y'all look at the resolutions, Kayla's taking care of that.
So this is in my district. It's an interesting one. They're wanting to abandon the road and then put in a new road above it. That's a beautiful road. But with this came a letter from an attorney that I've asked Bob Bowman to respond to. So I'm actually gonna ask that this be put off to the October workshop, so we can hear back from Bob Bowman.
Okay. October workshop will be the 17th, Commissioner Waller.
My wedding anniversary. Thank you.
Hope you plan to be here.
My wife thanks you.
Do you want me to put it off until then?
Yeah.
Okay.
Is that in District 1 or 2?
6.
Six.
Okay.
Come on, man.
You said it said District.
It says District 2, those will be correct.
They've never been updated for the last 100 years. I don't guess many of those district numbers have. Oh, thank you, Mr. Pickles, ahead of the textual head of the Loudon County Public Party.
So the one that she brought me today, that was a signed copy, so I'm waiting on another one.
She may have already made the amendments to I talked to her about it, I saw it last week when I was looking for your agenda,
Okay,
because I didn't review the resolution. And, she was making those corrections, so you may have to correct it. I'll ask her tomorrow.
okay.
So if I put this off until the 17th at the request of Commissioner Waller,
Yes, sir.
there won't be anything on from zoning on October 3rd.
Imagine that.
But you just come on anyhow.
You can come on down.
I'm gonna miss you all.
Yeah. Good night, Jim.
Thank you, Jim.
I know there's more I need to ask you, but I can't think of it.
I'm gonna stay.
All right.
All right. Commissioner Satterfield.
The mayor's not here, and that was who really I needed to have here, but we have talked different times about trying to get a handle on out-of-county solid waste coming into the Greenback Convenience Center. And since the good folks that live in Loudon County pay by the ton for that to be hauled off, we get in my opinion, an inordinate amount of out-of-county refuse coming into that center. Every time I go over there, I usually count 2 or 3 or more people that are coming through that do not live in Loudon County. So, the thing was to, I think we've got stickers, get a window sticker and a registration, go to the mayor's office in Greenback, show your ID, they'll look you up in the 911 catalog, verify that you actually live in Loudon County, and you get your sticker for the window. No sticker, no service.
What if they sent the sticker with your property tax bill? So you don't make the people come into your, come into the
Well,
office.
if
I don't, I'm
But
just trying to.
but you can be a property owner and not live here. That'd be
That was the only other thing we want to talk about is that, I don't have, and I think it should be allowed, if you own property and pay property tax in Loudon County, you can use the convenience center,
I think that's
Well-
appropriate.
you know.
That's what's funding the whole thing is property taxes.
And, people, you know, like, right now, the thing was to advertise for at least a month, give it with a sign and handouts as people come through and use it to let them know what's going into effect. Of course, there's signs over there that says Loudon County residents only, but it's not being adhered to. I just, I think that would be the right thing to do, but I guess I'll come down and talk to Buddy and see if he can get Chris and Gary. That's all I had, just to let y'all know what was going on at the convenience center.
And I think one of the biggest concerns is enforcement.
Yeah.
Who's gonna stop that guy that says, I'm dumping my trash, or I'm gonna whip your hiney right here now? I mean, that's where I can see your biggest challenge come from. Does Blount County charge to use their convenience centers?
Yes.
That's-
They don't have convenience centers.
You go to a place, but you have to
They have
pay.
the landfill, but you have to pay. You have to, if you go in with a Walmart bag full of trash, you still have to pay when you exit.
Okay, and I would point out that the convenience centers by far is the county's largest contributor to the landfill, and we are now paying more by ton to take our garbage to our landfill. That was just a stab in the eyes, all it was.
And the people that live over there will tell you that this convenience center is one of the best things that county commission ever did.
Absolutely.
They love it. It's great. You know, just, and I wish we could open it up, but like I said, I think everybody'd be surprised if you could keep track of it, how much we actually pay for that doesn't belong to us.
Sure.
And nobody else that I know of. I don't know if Loudon or Lenoir City have problems since they're not close
Not
to.
nearly as much.
We're just, you can throw a rock into Blount and Monroe County, and we get a lot of folks that come in there. Like I said before, I've watched people come down Morganton Road from Blount County, all the way over to the convenience center and dump loads in there. And what you said about enforcement, I know we have a little problem over there with our employees telling folks that they didn't, you know, we hadn't had had a few problems. Only thing I told them, I said, if they don't have the sticker, you just tell them that they can't use the facility. And I said, if there's a problem, I said, then just call the mayor's office.
I think they'd be calling the commissioner's office, but that's all right.
I
too.
know, but anyhow, we're making an effort.
Absolutely.
Is that it?
That's it.
Okay, Commissioner Shaver.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. I'm going to recognize Billy Pickle, the titular head of the Loudon County Republican Party, who received the most votes of any candidate in Loudon County if he had come to the podium to help with this process. What we're looking at, to make it real clear, currently our planning regulations require that you have to have a driveway permit from the highway department before you can get a building permit. That's in black and white now. I don't have a big worry about an individual building a house out here on the side of the road. The goal is to make sure it's in the proper location, not a blind site, not a blind curve. Where I'm having more of a problem is development, where they just go in and do whatever they want to do. And then within their development, and I think Adam may help on this one, but within their development, they have 100 driveways, but they were all included in this in the development's driveway to Loudon County, even though essentially all of them come to Loudon County roadways. So how much impact do they have on county roadways when they bring 75, 80, or 100 new homes into our communities? Should they have to pay something to help, kind of like, well, I won't even say the AFT because that's a bad word, but just some kind of thing that would go to the highway department to offset some of the costs that they have. So Billy Pickle and I talked, he's got some ideals. All I want to do is make sure that we're getting our driveway connectors, mostly for big developments, in the appropriate and proper places.
And I'll say, in my district, right at Cedar Hills, the big curve going back towards the lake, a development decided to move their entrance about 200 yards to the west, right into the curve, where it should have been. So they had to take it all out. So, I mean, they just,
Mr. Jenkins went up and said, no, that's not right, get it out. And they got it out, by golly. I was quite impressed. But anyhow, Mr. Pickle, please give us your wisdom and insight on what we need to do, if anything, here.
Well, Ben, Mr. Jenkins, we met this morning, in our office, at the Highway Department to talk about driveway permits, in the section in the Loudon County zoning resolution. And I think you passed this out, it's, 7.035 on driveway permits. I don't know what would be proper, I don't know if it would be proper for the planning commission to ask you all to repeal it. But I think repealing that section of the Loudon County zoning resolution will take away some of the stuff that we talked about, at the first, of the month at the county commission meeting.
And which section are you specifically saying that we need to,
Repeal section 7.035.
all of it?
All of it.
Okay.
This is primarily concerning single family, single dwelling, parcel. There's a lot of stuff in here that, as far as the requirements go, and just the charge altogether is unrealistic for single family.
I agree.
So I'd ask, like I say, either it be handed back to the planning commission for repeal, suggest that you all repeal it, or if that can be done.
Well, there's a process. We know how that
Yeah.
process works.
So if we could do that, but we also talked about, and guys, I appreciate, and Tracy would know, that I appreciate all the revenue that the highway department could get. But I don't feel that creating a new tax is the right way to go about it.
If you're in Little City, it's called fee.
Well, it's
Billy,
a
let's
tax.
get the
It's a
language
tax,
right here.
And I've written a letter here concerning that, to go on record to say that I'm not in favor of a new tax. And I'll be glad to give that off to you.
So are you wanting rid of the entire language of 7.035 or just the $815 fee?
7.305.
Totally gone.
Totally gone.
Now, does that have to come through Jim's group and then us?
Maybe, I don't know.
We're gonna recommend it to them, then they have 30 days to take it up. And then, depending on what they do, they have 30 days to either accept it, reject it, or take no action. After 30 days, if they've taken no action, according to Bob Bowen, consider that as a rejection. If they've taken action, best we can tell, it's done. Bob's kind of blank on that.
Now getting over onto the development side of things, that's gonna fall more under the municipal and regional subdivision regulations, which, probably needs to be redone a little bit anyway.
Yes, I think.
But nevertheless, the section in here that talks about the reason why you had to come to look at these regulations. Me and Mr. Jenkins talked this morning about, just a kind of a procedure that if someone comes in and files a plat review for a subdivision plat, what do we decide on, 3 or more?
At 5 or more,
5 or more.
you're required to have an 18-foot wide, road to even create greater than 5 lots on a, county road.
Yeah. So any plat more than five or more lots, then whenever they came in to file that with him, then they would also be sending me an electronic copy of those plans, or that plat, that elevation drawing of what the subdivision or what use it is. It may not be a subdivision necessarily, it may be a commercial subdivision of some sort, or campground, or what have you. But and on the note of the campground, something odd like that, Jim's going to forward them on over to me. Before they can go any further, he's wanting to see an email from us saying, we've looked at the road, we've looked at the placement of the road to our county road. Of course, the driveways inside those neighborhoods are going to be right properly. I mean, we'll look at that, but, they want a nice neighborhood to sell. They're not gonna, make something that's not appropriate. Commissioner Jenkins, you had a question?
You saying 035,
Yes.
but you're talking about this section?
No.
Below it.
This
Oh, 35.
Everything from there
Yeah,
down.
talking about the whole thing all the way down.
Now, what I had copied off here, going back to the Loudon County zoning resolution, right above 035, 7.035 is the building permit section. And it talks about what you gotta go through to get a building permit. When someone comes in to get a building permit, they have to have a site plan. And on that site plan should be, according to the zoning resolution, under section D of that, or item D of that, section, location and design for off-street parking areas or off-street loading areas such as other information to adjoining lots. So we can kind of, even on the residential, Commissioner Shaver, even on the residential stuff, just with what's written already in the building permit section of the zoning resolution, we can kind of keep an eye on, is their driveway gonna be too close to the neighbor's driveway? Is it gonna be across the street from somebody else's driveway? If they'll indicate that on the site plan. So, that's the reason, more reason why I think that repealing that section, 7.035,
Just talking about that, Jim, is there any consideration like setbacks for driveway? Can you put a driveway right up against the property line?
You can put it against the property line, yeah, there are no setback requirements.
You can't build a house, but you can build a driveway.
Yes, sir.
Or a fence. Let me ask you this, Jim, and the one I've carried off, and of course, all I did was print out this shortest little part of it. Where is the section E? I don't know if it's subdivision or the planning regulations, where it says permits, no driveway shall be constructed onto a county road until a permit is obtained and approved by the county road engineer or representative. A permit can be obtained from the county highway department. What section is that? I mean, it's in there now. If we're repealing and changing stuff,
I would have to try to figure out where that section is.
I'll do a word
It may be
search.
in a subsection.
I'll do a word search, that's why I'll find. I should have had the whole thing.
Is that it?
We almost need the new stuff ready to go before we repeal the old stuff.
Well, there is no new stuff.
It's similar, but not the same.
There
Okay.
is no.
This is what mine looks like. I just cut and pasted it
Oh,
right out
policy and
there.
subregs.
It's gonna be policy.
What do you do about a drive, and this is already there, like on Highway 11 coming from the cross, or from the junction, just before starting the right, there's a gravel driveway, a steep one, and it washes out all the time. Is there anything that can be done? If you have a, let's say, throughout the county though,
You like that, don't
if
you?
you have a steeper driveway, can you force them to put in some kind of?
I think this regulation, somewhere it says you can only have a certain grade of a driveway.
It does state there,
Is that in this section we're wanting to repeal?
yes.
Okay. Yeah, it's somewhere in there it talks about,
Tennessee Code Annotated,
and
before
the
that,
grade is to keep the
201 says that,
stuff from
highway
washing
superintendent
out.
can make-
Well, let me tell you where my biggest concern in the 5th district's coming from, and I'll give you a perfect example right now. Jim Jenkins will tell you it meets all of our regulations to be permitted. Houck Road, Hines Valley Road, we just approved in-house, or that go before the board?
The subdivision plat was through the planning commission.
Okay, it
but
came through the planning
The
commission.
use of the property is allowed by zone.
So Houck Road, and you know what Houck Road is, if it's driveway width, it's not much more than a driveway. We approved 2 duplexes on Houck Road. Now, that's 4 dwellings, but 2 duplexes, which if it's 4 dwellings, maybe 8 more cars on a 10-foot, 11, 12-foot road. Now, a driveway permit, currently, I don't know, the way Jim says it, and I agree with him, that our current regulations wouldn't prevent somebody from building 2 duplexes on a 10-foot road. If something like that came to you right now, under all the regulations we have, no changes, would you say, yeah, I can give a permit for these 2 driveways because they meet, even though Houck Road's 10 feet wide?
Yeah.
Okay.
I've got to give people egress for the property.
Okay, so Jim, how do we fix that? Road standards? Do we need to work into road standards to stop?
Well, there won't be any more 12-feet roads made.
Well, we got a whole lot already out there though.
Well, yeah, but we should have been back.
Well, we have the same thing over on Vineyard Road,
Yeah,
where they're sticking the road, and I don't even know if I'd actually call it a driveway size road,
yeah.
but they're putting things in there, and then I think we have one gentleman that's wanting wanting the county to cut down some trees so he can put in duplexes right there on the road.
You're talking about,
Well,
yeah, Vineyard Road.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
Vineyard Road.
I'm thinking Long Road.
No, Vineyard. But, you know, I have a problem with that when the roads will not carry, when that kind of building will make the roads unsafe. When you increase the traffic. And like I said, and part of that, like I said, it's one car passable, but I don't want to, I'd prefer not to have the trees cut down over there or the duplexes set right on that 10-foot road. But he's got a building permit, doesn't he?
He's got a building permit, and I told the gentleman that you probably have spoken with, that once the building permit was obtained, that I would cut those trees. But until then, I wouldn't.
Do we have to cut them? The county has to, highway department?
We don't have to, but it's been general fashion over the years. I mean, the precedent's been set for many years that if a property owner had a tree on the county right of way that they wanted cut down, we would cut it for them.
Okay.
More especially if it was causing a hazard, but, you know, it wouldn't be something we'd run straight to. But if it was a tree on county right of way that the property owner that joins us on that right of way wants cut, you know, we would do that.
You could get into a whole lot of tree trimming in a case like
Well,
that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We try to monitor it and not,
Okay, let's go back to my agenda item. So if we want to do something like Bill and I are talking about, where you have extremely substandard roads, and we want to manage the amount of development on a road, Jim, is there any answer?
Currently, the regulation says more than 5 lots cannot be created on a less than 18-foot road. But how are you gonna rate it? What you would cause is having to create a regulation that basically says you can no longer subdivide on this width of road. Because I would skirt the system. I know the regs, so what I'd do is I'd do a 4-lot subdivision. I'd get my plats approved, I'd move on through.
Well,
I'd
they've
do another
stuck-
4-lot, or I'd do one at a time,
They've
as
stuck-
was done on Hackney Chapel.
They've stuck more than that in there already.
Yeah, so you do it one at a time, it's a matter of just surveying, recording the plat, it's all legal. So the only way, in my opinion, that you can be able to stop that is just say, hey, we're not gonna let you subdivide property. I don't know that,
I have a problem with that.
I don't think I,
Somebody man property, he wants to subdivide it, he ought to be able to subdivide.
so I don't know that there's an answer to stop that.
Okay. So, bottom line on driveway permits. You all gonna come up with a suggestion or a do nothing, or what's the next step from tonight?
Reason I give these out is you read what the requirements are. Obviously, if you think it's a good idea to do this and y'all want to keep this in place, then what we will do is proceed with what the document says and getting permits for every driveway. And or, if you look at this and say, this could be burdensome on some, people out there, maybe we don't wanna do this, but what we do wanna do is ultimately if the challenge is for larger developments, then these developments over 5 lots, again, they may be all coming off a county road, but we will take that plat, we'll send it electronically to the highway department during our preliminary review of that plat, and we'll get the notification back from the highway department that says, you know what, we reviewed it, we're good with our access locations, whether it's 5 lots, something coming on county road, or it's building a new county standard road. We put that along with our plat, that email with our plat, the planning commission reviews that. They've got the blessing from the highway department that it's not waiting to the final plat for signature. We do a preliminary plat, infrastructure goes in, then the highway department usually signs the final plat.
And what is the fee for this permit?
I'm sorry?
What is the fee for this permit?
Did y'all ever charge a fee?
no, we never charge a fee for the driveway permit.
Okay.
But you hadn't been really doing it either, right? I mean,
We've been, Mr. Randolph, we have been doing it. If someone gets on our website, they see the driveway permit link over there. You know, if they're fixing to develop a home here in Loudon County, they may look on our website. If they look on the county website, there's a link under documents.
I built 2 years ago. I didn't have to do it. But
Yeah, you did.
You gotta tell me.
You cannot use your driveway anymore.
You can't go home tonight.
So what occurred is, we were able to obtain a building permit without doing this.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Heavy
It was a
equipment
field, it
will
was
be
a
there
field
to
of
grade up
lawn.
your driveways.
But I had to get so many other permits. I think this is gonna be a burden on people. I mean,
Well, you know,
you have
come
to
over
jump
to
through
the
so many
highway
hoops to be able to build a
department.
house.
And then come back over, well, you come over here thinking you're gonna get a belt permit, then they have to go over to the highway department to get a permit. And then come back over here, and then what really are we accomplishing with it?
A safer connection to a county road would be the intent, according to this. It tells you what a little bit, I've tried to read through right quick there, it talks about to make sure it's here and not there, and not blind or something I was reading
Well,
about.
if they get it on the site plan, when they go out for their first field inspection.
But site plan's way after the fact.
Well, they have that site
The
plan.
final plan is, I guess by removing,
We're talking about the driveway permit has nothing to do with the subdivisions at all.
by removing this though, it takes away requiring people to have drainage tiles. If we repeal this. I don't wanna take away what teeth you have to fix problems.
I've already got that state law. If they put a driveway in without a culvert, and that water's coming down an existing ditch or what have you, it's causing water back up on the road. The state law, 54-7-201, says that I can take them up here and talk to them in court about.
Let me ask you a question, something about driveways. Say if they put a driveway that's got a very steep driveway, and when it rains, the driveway ends up out in the road.
Again, 54-7-201, obstructions of roadways, right-of-ways, and bridges would cover that.
What can you make them do? Can you make them,
Is to remove the material from the road,
how about fixing, can they do it?
and, well, that would be up to the.
Well, I mean, right here, it's section 3 addresses that. It talks about 10% or greater, first 20 feet have to be paved, concrete or asphalt. I just wonder if it's easier to deal with it.
I tell you what, you just gonna leave it in there, just take my name out of it. Take my whatever it is, and I would part out of it, and let them do whatever.
Well, I just don't know what's the easier, I don't know what the easiest enforcement mechanism is. Is it going to court or just saying it's county code and Jim sending letters? I don't know. I don't know.
Well, I mean, I think we just have to be careful.
we
I
do.
agree, we have to readjust some things. But I agree with Commissioner Randolph. To build a house in Loudon County, I hear a lot, man, it's hard. Everybody needs permits and this and that and this, and I think you have to be real careful about changing a whole lot of things, and where people don't feel like, man, that they don't want you here at all. I don't think that's the goal.
We don't wanna tell people that?
No, I don't think we want to tell people.
You sure?
We-
What about if they're from out of state?
We need some controlled growth. I agree with you 100%, but we've gotta come to figure out a way to make this
What is your recommendation?
appealing for
I mean,
folks.
this is your department.
Yeah.
Well, my recommendation would be, is that I've been with the county 22 years. I've never had to lean on this section of the zoning ordinance since I've been back at the highway department. I was at the planning and code enforcement office whenever it was created. I was at the highway department previously, and of course you all know, I've got a steep history with the highway department. 54-7-201 and state laws always worked out very well. And to have this in place now, to be not doing our job, I think weighs heavier than, trying to put in more regulation whenever there's state laws and on the books. And like I said, the section of the building code or building, permit, saying about putting the driveway on the site plan.
My biggest concern with driveways would be if you're going to build, I don't have a problem with somebody that's gonna build a house on their farm or whatever, but I do think you need to be circumspect about if we're going to put 50 houses, 100 houses, whatever.
And that's.
I think we need to be on top of that. Like I said, I've got people that live next to me that have a driveway on the worst blind hill you've ever seen, but they bought the house and that's where they use that. But I don't think we need to get in that kind of business where somebody's got 5 acres of land and they're wanting to build a house and if they live in the city, that's the city's problem.
Well, that section that I'm talking about repealing, that takes care of
I don't
Folks
have,
just trying to build a house out here, get them a,
I don't have a problem with them building a house and putting a driveway in.
I'm 100% with you. Mine's more about the multifamily and the denser development stuff. That's where my heart
and I think
heartburn's coming
that, that's
from.
addressed, in what we've talked about as far as, policy and procedure between the two offices.
So have you all, are y'all to terms with how you want to deal with it?
I think we're pretty concerned on it.
Yes, sir.
All right.
You know, the highway department always signs final plats. What we're gonna try to do is make sure, and I've done it in the past on other developments, but we're gonna make it more of a point of, this is what's coming. Here's your something, if you'll just look at it, reply to us, get that in. So hopefully by the time we take it to preliminary approval to the planning commission, it's already been addressed. And now they're ready to start their infrastructure review.
We'd have to call the phone.
But if we repeal this, what happens is if we don't want to enforce this, we should repeal it. And this gets you, your single families out there, because again, a lot of our developments, a lot of our driveways are already concreted. We're building $500,000 homes in Loudon County. But there are still some out there that are struggling just to have a home, that another $20,000 in concrete and this, that, and the other.
And we
It's
still,
quite a burden.
and we still, I've tossed it back and forth for several years at times over driveway culverts. We put them in for folks. They buy the culvert and we'll put the culvert in for them.
That's awesome.
For a very small charge.
You put mine in.
The comptroller's office.
And you didn't even get a permit. Take it out.
He's gonna take it out now.
Repossess that culvert.
But what I'm saying is we've always, any administration I've ever been with, we've always had a good neighborly relationship.
That's great.
And,
That's good to
we
hear.
want to continue to have that. I think if we really, try to start enforcing, a law that's not, that's on the books today.
So if we
you
take
won't have
out,
fine people like Randolph that's been getting home tonight.
if we take out the 7.035, the only thing, that deals with single family, single homes, the rest of it, if it's multi,
That comes out of the subdivision.
okay, I don't have a problem with that.
We're creating a new access on the county road
Yeah.
for subdivisions and stuff. We'll try to
Sounds-
handle that
sounds good to
prior to
me.
we get to the final plat approval.
So,
Moving
Jim,
right
do you want to
along.
bring us something to say what we're repealing like you do your resolutions?
I'll need to do a resolution, take it through planning commission, let them hear it, voice their concerns.
Okay,
to bring back to
you're
you.
hearing from us tonight. Let's start the process.
I may get to see you in October after all.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe, anyway, I'll table this until I hear from you on what you wanna do with.
Well, he won't be coming back in
No,
October.
I won't be.
He's gotta go to planning commission first.
This will be
Okay.
November. We'll try to have it prepared
Yeah.
for the November planning commission.
Then we won't put anything on for
Moving right along.
October 3rd.
Thank y'all. Have a good evening.
Thanks,
Thank
Jim.
you.
Thank you.
Mr. Shaver,
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Now, I want to go into this one just so pleasantly and carefully and easily. I brought this up back before the new commissioners came on board. I think most of them were probably sitting here. But I just put it all out till we got the new folks in. I want everybody to understand it. And I want everybody to understand this is not a mountain I'm about to die on. And I want to tell you, this is a conversation that the Zoning and Planning Study Committee has had as we've been going through all of our stuff, trying to find how and where we can make changes or improvements. So to give you the history of it, for most of the history of Loudon County, we had a planning commission.
Right.
That planning commission just operated of its own accord. It was appointed by the county mayor. We used Nashville, Tracy Blair, she was here for that time. We used to use the planner out of Nashville that would come in once a month. I think his name was Pat Phillips, wasn't it? So Mr. Phillips came in once a month and he met with the Loudon County Planning Commission and they did their business. Somewhere, in fact, I think it was around sometime in the late 90s. By this time, we had a fellow named, Pat Phillips is still there, but they were wanting to create a full-time planning department. So they got together, Little City, Loudon County and Loudon City got together and they said, oh, let's create this interlocal agreement with this multi-county, multi-city, full-time planning department. So they set it up. They set up the membership of the planning commission that we now have. And it was an independent body of any of the agencies. It operated just like the Economic Development Agency. It was funded just like the EDA, and it was managed by the Executive Planning Council. And those were members that were laid out in the private, or in the interlocal agreement, who would sit on that Executive Planning Council, just like the EDA's board does today. Harvey Sproul wrote them both, they're identical. So that trucked on and life went on. Everything was fine until 2009. In 2009, and I would say kudos to them, it was time to do it. Littlemore City decided to go out on their own and do their own planning. Theirs had gotten big enough, and it was hard for the executive planning, the Loudon County, whatever they were called at the time, to do all of it. So Littlemore City decides to go out and do their own. Kudos and great for them, and probably a good move that they could have made. So after that happened, that was when they decided, okay, this is the end of the interlocal agreement. The interlocal agreement was dissolved. The Executive Planning Council went away. It doesn't exist anymore. And the Loudon County Planning Office was brought in under the county mayor's office. That happened July 1st of 2009, I believe was the date, after Littlemore City pulled out. Since the agreement was all gone, Loudon City then agreed to pay $25,000 per year for the Loudon County Planning Office to continue to do their planning for them. That trucked on until 2019. And that's when Loudon City pulled out to go doing their own thing. So Loudon County Planning Commission now deals with nothing but Loudon County. We have no involvement in the cities, there's no interlocal agreement, there's no anything. But all the way back to the 2000s, when it was first set up, the little sheet I passed out to y'all, here's the membership. It was set up to be exactly like county commission, and that's what they had before they created the Executive Planning Council. It was just like county commission seats. So you had two in the first district, 2 in the second, 1 third, 1 fourth, 2 in the fifth, and 1 in the sixth.
And the 7th is not on there because?
The 7th district came into effect in 2000, after the 2000 census, but in 2002 was when the 7th district was created. There's no planning and zoning for the 7th district from the Loudon County Planning Office. So that was decided at that time. Why would you put a 7th district member in there since we do nothing in the 7th district? Before my time, even before my first time, that decision was done and made, but that's why there's no 7th district. But as you can see on the bottom part right there, during the interlocal agreement time, Littlemore City's chairman of their planning commission, whomever that is, take all the names out of it. Please leave names out of it. The Littlemore City chairman was a member of the planning commission, and the Loudon City chairman was a member of the planning commission. So we come down this many years later, we're doing nothing but county planning now. Does it make sense to maintain these 2 additional seats? This gives the city extra representation. Instead of 2 in the first and 2 in the second, they now have 3 in the first and 3 in the second. It makes it an 11-member board instead of a 9-member board, which changes the potential of your voting. So the conversation is, do we need to continue to maintain these two seats on our planning commission?
So I have one question.
I'm ready.
Talk about the chairman of Loudon City, chairman of Littlemore City.
Right.
If that chairman sits there 1 year, and you're talking about could have 3 in the first and 3 in the second, could the chairman out of the city then not go to a different district?
Yes. In fact, we just did that last month. The current Littlemore City chairman is Leon Shields. And the opening came in the 2nd district, if you'll remember, Rosemary and William, and Leon was moved from that chairman position to an actual 2nd district seat. So when you look at that chairman Littlemore City one right now, there's nobody in that one. So to answer your question, yes, and as you can see, there's 2 in 1st district now. So the question is correct, yes.
Well, couldn't you do the same with Loudon City?
If Loudon City chose to want to do that, that's those guys' call. And again, I want to be so clear. Wouldn't matter, no matter whose names are in what seats. This is about the positions. We certainly don't. The county doesn't have representation on the city planning commissions. I mean, it wouldn't make sense that we would. But since we're not doing the city planning anymore of any shape, form, or fashion, do we maintain these extra seats?
No.
I would like to hone it down, is what I should speak, jump in there sometime. We would like to get it all down to where it's just like us. Well, your turn.
I'm done. You said it all.
See?
You set it up.
So that's our recommendation. Whatever this body ultimately wants to do, I'll ask to have this put on the agenda for the October meeting. And I'll just be honest, I've talked to Carly. He said he understands, not a major problem, he enjoys doing it. I said there's 2 more seats when they come available. So he seemed to be okay from the text I got from him.
Yeah, I talked to Carly for an hour today, and that's what he told me.
Okay.
He said he's okay with whatever we decide.
And I wanted to make him understand, I talked to him at the planning commission, it wouldn't matter if it was you or the guy before you or the guy or whatever. This is about the positions. It just doesn't make sense to continue to maintain extra representation from the cities.
Now, is there a state law that says we have to have, since the cities are a part of the county?
That's what
There's nothing that
No.
says that.
Once we left our interlocal agreement, we're just bound by whatever we do.
Okay.
We could vote to say, okay, we're just gonna have Gary and Henry as our planning commission. I mean, that's kind of all our internal decisions.
That'd be bad.
Start praying for Jim.
So that's, Mr. Chairman, that's all, unless anybody has any more questions.
I'll answer a question that was put on the floor here about District 7. The reason there's nobody from the village, for my village friends, is that in the TRDA lease agreement with Tellico Village, TRDA gave them the zoning authority, and they do it under their own architectural control committee. So that's the issue.
And if there's a problem, they'll call Henry anyhow. He'll take care of it.
Yep.
I'm done, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, we'll add that on for October 3rd. Tracy Blair.
Thank you, sir. The budget committee had a very
Excuse me.
long meeting.
Are you still not going to?
Pardon me?
Are you still not going to?
You can go right ahead.
Not my place. Ms. Blair has announced her retirement effective March 1 of 2023.
31.
March 31. We get an extra month. So as of today, Buddy would do this if he was here. Sitting to her left is a young lady named Erin Rice. She is going to be the next financial director for Loudon County, and she is starting 7 months ahead to start getting her head wrapped around this. She's been in the finance department or with the county for 17 years. She comes highly recommended by the mayor and the finance director, so we're really excited to have Erin coming on board, even though I'm really not accepting that Tracy's leaving, so it doesn't matter, it doesn't matter. So welcome aboard, Mr. Price.
I appreciate the opportunity.
Yes, ma'am.
She's battle scarred after this afternoon.
Consultants, right?
Okay,
A little. Okay, the budget committee had a very, longer than usual meeting this afternoon.
Just say very expensive.
Very expensive.
Very expensive.
There you go. That's true. One thing that was discussed that will be included in your budget amendments that you will receive is funding of $15,250 to replace central heat and air at the Sugar Limb location of Priority Ambulance. Travis Estes was there making the request. The budget committee made the recommendation. That will be included in amendments for Fund 117. There will be some grant approvals, no match on all of them. Sheriff Jimmy Davis was at this meeting, and he talked about several different needs, and he's gathering some more information for some of them. But one thing that the budget committee is recommending that's a little bit different is an appropriation in the sheriff's budget to purchase vehicles. The idea is that ARPA funding will really supply the revenue for this, but until the county gets a process for ARPA, the sheriff needs to go in and order the vehicles. Everyone knows that there's a long lead time. So The amount is $500,000. And, the recommendation was made to recommend the appropriation with the idea that ARPA funding will reimburse it. So since this is different, I will prepare a separate resolution on this. I kind of wanted a resolution for anything related to ARPA anyway, but this will be on the agenda for the next meeting. There are several amendments in many different funds. Some of you commissioners were at that meeting, and for those of you who were not, we have the spreadsheets. There have to be some adjustments on some of them because of some things.
Well,
that
there's no
happened.
page numbers too, so.
Then there's that. When you receive your packet of information, you will receive the resolution that goes along with it. I'm not prepared that yet. And the budget committee wanted to have a discussion about the ARPA process for commission. I guess at this time.
Okay. I'd like to ask the commission to consider scheduling a workshop meeting for the sole purpose of beginning a plan to utilize the ARPA funds.
It's all been spent already.
I know we've ARPA'd everything. It's just, but anyhow, and I think the sooner we can do it, the better. We've kicked this around the road. Every time we have a meeting, we refer it to ARPA funds, so we need to get busy and decide how we want to spend that money. And I think a workshop for the commission would be appropriate. We could do it, we could just add it on to the next scheduled workshop, or we could pick out another date to have it on.
I like the idea of having our regular workshop, and when we're done with whatever this is, now, from here on out, the rest of the night, we're talking ARPA.
That's fine.
Rather than
today.
trying to have a special, but in 2 weeks' time, it's hard to get a squeeze one in there, so that would be my preference.
So the
Then
next
it would be October 17th.
October, so I don't have, that'd be my recommendation if we do that.
So, Ms. Blair, we've taken 5 million of it. What's the process of getting the next 5 million?
When they give it to us.
If I remember correctly, I think you are eligible to get the second half of the funding. It has to be 1 year, it has to be at least 1 year. I don't know if a certain percentage of what you've drawn down has to be spent or at least obligated. I don't think so. But the 1 year mark will be about February. That's when we got the.
So you gotta wait until that.
Well, I would say between now and October 17th, or whatever you said a minute ago, Ms. Blair and Ms. Rice probably ought to be prepared with what we know we can do. Is that what y'all are going about a meeting this week? Is that not ARPA?
There'll be a class on ARPA, but it's everything.
Okay, I understand. But we're when we come to this next workshop, that Bill's wanting, it's gonna be time for the pedal to hit the metal, and we need to know as much as we possibly can about what we can and can't do. And whatever your presentation will be to us to say, here's what you can and can't do, here's how you do it, and so on and so forth. That's gonna be a big deal.
And I think we need a list of what we've already said we were gonna do with ARPA.
And what the balance is.
I know we've done police cars and
Have we done much
So,
else? I mean, have we really said anything but police cars? That's the only thing
No,
we've really
raises.
done.
Well, raises are.
Raise-
Yeah, we've got the bonus raises coming in November for $250,000 or less, $200,000 something dollars.
Did y'all talk about the money for the rescue squad?
that'll be at the work.
That's
That'd be the
in this
17th.
one. That's another
That's
one
in the
being
first
batting around.
Well, for one thing, just so that everyone can start thinking about it between now and the 17th of October, the new guidelines that came out about March, I believe, prior to the final ruling, we can spend up to 10 million, and in a category it's called revenue loss. And basically, you can spend that on any governmental expense. Now, our total allocation is 10.5 million. So, the majority of it, we can claim revenue loss, and that takes away some of the strings and the requirements that are attached to those other categories, and every other category has.
And for the new people, when it first came down the pike, it had so many strings on it, there was no way to figure out what to spend it on. And I think we all knew from history that was gonna change, and sooner or later, they made some pretty flowery words in it, but essentially they said, do what you want to with it. Revenue loss was the big word they
That's the
used.
But do you have to prove the revenue loss?
Not
No,
really.
in this category, claiming up to 10 million, whatever we claim, we can spend it on anything that the county would spend property tax on.
That's how it went
It's
from
even the same way
impossible
with,
to possible.
we talked about, the,
The state
premium
did
pay
that.
for the employees.
That's right, feds.
The county could approve
The state money we
a
got.
supplement to
Well,
the
from the
all
tax.
county employees in any amount that you can afford. You can do that with ARPA funding as long as you claim it in revenue loss. Now, if you can't claim it in the category of premium pay, all of the requirements come. It has to be a certain amount. It can't be for employees who did not work during COVID, or if they work from home, it doesn't count. All of those things apply if you claim it in that category. But if you claim it in revenue loss, all of that goes away. It's to the point that, I have received a phone call from our auditors. She says she was calling every county, in the East Tennessee area, because that's their area, encouraging counties to use as much of it in revenue loss as possible, because that's the easiest.
Yeah, I remember the first video I watched was like 2.5 hours
Oh, yeah.
requirements.
So that's just something to think about as far as once we start talking about and commission is making approvals in disbursements of these funds. And I really would like resolutions attached to everything. That way it's clear.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Okay,
Well, the workshop's just gonna be making the blueprint for us.
Yes.
We're not
We're determining what we're gonna do, how we're gonna do
doing
it.
it yet.
You think we're gonna be able to figure that out in 1 or 2 hours?
I think that's the goal. I think it won't take but about 10 minutes to get figured out. There's about 10 different opinions about what to do with $10 million, but that's what we'll have to work out and come to consensus on. So
it's not gonna be easy.
till we sit down and do that, I don't know that there's even any guessing how this goes, but I know one thing. I think we all want to try to use it for the absolute maximum betterment of everybody in Loudon County.
Absolutely.
I don't disagree with that. And the line's gonna be long of the people looking for money.
They're not invited to this meeting.
I know, but
That was Buddy when he invited everybody in the United States.
This-
What do you want?
They can come and listen, but
Sure,
this
sure.
is just a commission meeting for us to get our ducks in a row.
Make a motion with Journey, but I can't make a motion.
Second.
okay, anything else? We'll consider it adjourned. Thank you, Tracy.
Thank you, sir.
4 years of control, have the grand.
You can't leave me.
Building money.